Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the Socialife, the place to be for entrepreneurs with a purpose. Today, I'm super excited to interview Kenya Bryant, and she is the founder of The Oven, Women in Vision Incubator. And then she also has another podcast, which is called Raven Vision. And
Yes.
I can't wait to hear all about this, Kenya. I'm really happy to have you on. Really
Thank
excited
you.
about all the things you're doing because I know you're impacting a lot of women's lives.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about like what the oven is. I love the name. I think it's so unique.
Thank you.
Like something or birthing something. It could be two different ways, right?
Yes, there's a couple ways you can look at it. I'm glad you're looking at it like that. So the oven is came from just truly believing that we as women, we carry a lot, we are just like these carriers of vision, of dreams, of purpose, of destiny.
Yeah.
And so the oven was just kind of symbolizing that, we carry these incredible things, but oftentimes they come in all messy. You know how you're like creating that, you got that recipe and all these ingredients are going into the pan. And that looks great what the picture shows on the recipe, but when you look at the pan with all those ingredients, it's not quite done yet. So the oven represents, get all those ingredients, get all those things that are just burning on the inside of you, those desires, put them in there, put them into the oven, and that's where things start to happen.
Yeah.
I really believe like in the fire, in the doing, in the pressing, in surrounding yourself with other people, that's where you get like this. If it's an entrepreneurial venture, if it's just wanting to do some incredible work as a volunteer, if it's missionary work, if it's just being the bomb.com stay-at-home mom, all of that happens
That's right.
in that oven when things start to get like solidified with all those different things that come together and mesh it together to make it look almost like that recipe that you saw, that pretty picture.
Or better. Shoot, depending on what ingredients you have, No, I mean, I love the concept and I love all that. And you've been doing this for how long have you been doing?
Okay, let me tell you, girl. Okay, let me tell you about my life. So I am a mom of 3 gentle giants.
Yes.
So I call them gentle giants because they now seem to have gotten taller than me, except my daughter, Sion, who just happens to be like short right here. But my 2 sons are the giants. And so with having 3 gentle giants, I kicked this off really slow. It was kind of like, started off as, I just want to get women together and we're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about these dreams, these visions that we have, and just make community, and women, we do a great job at that. We have no problem talking. That's number 1. 2, getting together, even if you're an introvert or extrovert, you like that. So it started off first like that because I couldn't think anything else. I couldn't even think of like this being some entrepreneurial like venture. I just said it'll be like this real cool business club because I got these 3 gentle giants and they rule your life. You know that children rule your life. So I started off that way. And then as I was doing these business like kind of community meetings, women started asking me for more and more, and they were like, so when are we going to do events, and when are we going to, are you going to do some coaching and stuff? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I won't lie, I launched out into a business boot camp.
Yeah.
And by doing this boot camp, I knew if I committed to it and I could finish it in my right mind with 3 children, I would launch this business.
Yes.
And at first it was called One in the Oven. So that was what it was first called.
Okay.
And it was like, we got this thing in the oven. And I went through a 12-week boot camp, business boot camp, in the hood of DC. So that was some initiation right there, right? You got initiated through the hood of DC. And these women did not play because you were in the hood. It was at 7 o'clock. And at that time it was in the fall. So, it gets like dark. It's dark at like 6. And they would tell you if you're not at the door inside the building by 7 o'clock, they were locking you out. So that was that right there told you didn't want to get locked out in the hood at 7 because you had to find parking and you didn't want to walk by yourself in the hood. So 12 weeks away from my 3 children in the hood, I made it. And in this boot camp, they just began to really stir up like this desire to really do this, made me hone in on really what the oven really was going to be about. The name changed because I had, you know, when you're in this boot camp and it felt like a boot camp, you have people telling you like, yeah, no, one in the oven's not working, sweetie, because that sounds like some babies or something.
It does. Yes, it did.
And yeah.
Oh, I love
And they like were boot camp for real. So I was like, oh, okay, you know, just take my thing. But it was okay because when they said the oven, it was like, ooh, that sounds like something. And they were like, this is a place you come and you get set on fire with this dream, this vision, this business, and coming out of this incubator space comes your business, your dream, whatever it is that you wanted to do.
Yep.
There came the oven.
That's right. That's so awesome, and what a great journey for you, because
yes,
showing that, you know, even when you're starting, like, you start from learning. We all start from learning from other people or going through the process yourself, right? Like,
yes,
out yourself, and then being able to go and teach other people what you've learned and how you can do it and all of that. And so I love what you're saying. Now,
thank you.
I want to know how this podcast came about. Brave and Vision, because you were doing your oven and then okay, let's hear about it.
Okay, so I'm doing the oven. I have launched the Facebook page, the Instagram page. I had a private like Facebook group, and out of that launched like these Vision Friday Live events. So it would be like we're getting together on a Friday every month, and we would gather as women. And in this time, I would bring experts or girlfriends who were rocking it in business or in life to just encourage the women. Alongside that, I was doing coaching. So I kept, you know, I would give these surveys and I kept hearing these women say, well, we need more than just this once a month. And I was like, look here, y'all. Now I work full time. I got 3 babies and y'all want more. And they just kept asking like what you're doing, this community you're creating, how do we get access to it more? And even in the coaching, they were like, how do I get it? So one time someone said, hey, I think you should do a podcast. And I'm like, what? Like,
Kenya?
Okay. And I'll be honest, I thought about it. And I'm one of those who likes to research things. That's like the other side of the brain, like that, like strategic planning. So I was like, well, I enjoy listening to things that are encouraging, inspiring, that make me laugh, that give me life. So I started listening to podcasts in the mornings. I was asking friends, like, which ones do you like? Which ones would you like? You can't live without. You subscribe. You shouting them out on your social media. So I started listening to them, and I started cracking up, and I started loving it. And I was like, oh, I can see why people would say. And crazy me, who likes to take risks, just said, okay. And I did the research of what was the best way to do it. How do you launch this, the platform? And I will tell you something and tell you folks that I'm one of those that once it comes in there and I feel the fire, I just go out and leap. Like, that's why it's called Brave in Vision.
Yes, I'm with you, girl. Okay, I love it.
And so I said, okay, I didn't know if anybody was going to listen to it, which would have been really sad and probably hurt my heart, but I was willing to take the risk. So I said, what was it going to be about? And I really love storytelling. I love sisterhood and I love storytelling. And I really believe it connects us. Our stories connect us. Our stories make us vulnerable. Our stories really actually are testimonies to push somebody else that felt they couldn't do it, or they're the only ones living whatever you've lived through. And so it was sharing our brave stories. And it came from this quote that I loved, says that you tell the story of your mountain climb because it may actually be the page in somebody else's survival guide. So it was like, hey, ladies, we always see success. Like, we see everybody at their mountaintop and the success. We don't ever get to hear really about the messy middles, the deep, dark valleys, them broken fingernails, girl, and the scars that got you up that mountaintop. Nobody wants to talk about. Or you're on the mountain and you're still battling. Life is still happening.
Yes.
Yeah, but you made one success and there's still more to go. No one's really talking about it. So I said, okay, I'm going to create this platform for real women to share their real stories doing real life. And voila, Brave Vision came.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That's such a great idea. And it's so empowering, I think, for a lot of women. We don't realize how much, that is helpful to hear other people. And we do it on a daily basis without even thinking about it,
Without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not even. And I think it's so important that we don't, for me, when you live out your story, and that could be whatever you've had to walk through, divorce, a mom of multiples, new career change, graduating from school. I'm talking like simple life. Right. But in all of those things, it doesn't always come out to be simple. The life happens in all of that. When you're a mom of multiples, you often are trying to figure out how do I brave through this and brave through this well, without putting children on the curb every day. So you just like, so how do I make it through divorce and not lose my mind or lose my self-worth or my value? And who else has done this? Who else has climbed through this, made it to the mountain top, and can push me to be brave? And that's what this was about. It was really saying, we can't hoard these stories. We have to steward them. We have to cherish them. And then I think it's so important that we share them, because somebody else can be so encouraged. Somebody else can say, oh my gosh, it's not just me. It's not just me. Someone else can say, if you did it, I can do it, girl. So it connects us.
Now, I know that you also have, in your Brave and Vision podcast, do you talk also, like, you bring in like a spiritual side as well? Like, do you talk about, talk a little
I
bit.
do. I'll be honest, for me, when I share like my stories, I tell the honest truth to say, there's no way I could live through some of the things I've lived through and to tell these stories, have a sense of humor, be in my right mind. Let's just make sure we count that in there. In your right mind matters. And without God on my side. And so when we talk about these stories, it's not that we're saying that in order to listen to the podcast, you must be a lover of God and know who he is. But I just truly believe, because all of the topics we talk about are relevant and they're real.
And some of the stories, that's just part of the fabric, like what you're saying.
And that's the fabric of what got people through, them finding a relationship with God through all of that came in their story. So because that's very much a part of who I am, it's a part of the podcast. But I love that the podcast includes everyone. Everyone feels a part of it. Everyone feels loved. Everyone can laugh and share in the stories when we're up there cracking up, or when we're telling some seriously like deep stories, that are like touching the heart.
Yeah. So when you are looking for guests or anyone to come on, kind of like, what are you looking for? What can people expect when they come to listen to the podcast?
Oh my goodness. So I just want real people, to be honest. And now I do have folks who are doing some rock star stuff. I have authors who've been on the podcast. I got I'm in a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and I had two of my sorority sisters on, and they were talking about Black history. And one just got kind of, how do you say it? Like, I was there and I don't even know what you call it. It just seemed incredible. She's a judge now. So whatever they do, they robe you or something.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. She just became a judge.
Whatever they did to her was incredible. And now she's a judge, a part of the civil rights sector here in Washington, D.C. So she was on. She's an attorney, but now a judge, an educator and director of an incredible nonprofit. She was on there. So I do have these incredible women. But these are women doing everyday life who have stories that they've walked through. And, I have entrepreneurs on. I have just moms that are on sharing their stories. Most recently, I just branched out into doing a men's series. I hosted my first guy on the podcast, and the numbers like tripled. Wonder why? Because women, we always want to know what's going on in that brother's head. And so,
I know.
And so he came to me and he was like, Kenya, I really think you're onto something here, because men started listening to the podcast, and to include my dad. And so he was like, do you want to branch out into doing something else. And me being the risk taker was like,
Sure.
oh, okay. And it's called The Bridge. It's a series we're doing with men, bridging the gap between men and women. And the first one I launched off was me and my dad having a very intimate and vulnerable conversation about bridging relationships between fathers and daughters. And I had no idea what it was going to do. I had no idea what that man was. I was going to say crazy man, but I love my dad. But, anyway, he was going to say, because he could be very complicated and difficult. But through me being vulnerable and him being vulnerable, a beautiful conversation came. I learned things about my father I never knew. He got to tell his brave story through pain and loss, reconciliation, restoration. And at the end of that episode, I was able to tell my father I love him, and he told me he loved me back. And that was incredible. And that's a story. That's what the podcast is really about. It's like, how do we brave through to the things that are our stories, that are raw, that are real, that are painful. I had all types of feelings and emotions on that episode. But when I saw the response, and then I had women willingly give 60-second audio clips of stories about them and their father, it's well worth it,
Absolutely. I think that's amazing. I think that's something also that we don't talk about very often.
No.
And so it was very vulnerable for you to actually get on and have that conversation with your dad. And,
Yeah.
That's hard to do sometimes,
Right. It is. It's hard. It's hard. I think relationships, period. And I think that was something important. And I think it was important because men and women in our community, we just really need to bridge the gap. And we need to find a way to have real conversations and let them tell their stories, because, nothing against our men and our brothers, and we love them, but they don't communicate as much as women do. We'll talk all day. They will not. And so to be able to hear their stories, it bridges the gap. It really does.
Yeah. To hear that they just want to come home and decompress for a moment instead of hearing us talk about whatever we're going to talk about that day. Yeah, I had to learn that really early on. I really did in marriage. That was
I know.
not communicate well on. Honestly, there are a lot of things like that. But yeah, and that's kind of the purpose of the journey, kind of really talking about what people are going through. And,
yes.
You speak to people who are trying to really start up a business or do their nonprofits or whatever they're trying to do. But it's difficult, as you know.
It is.
And I love that you said, because it all starts that way. You have an idea. And then, you know what? But I don't know how I'm going to make this from this idea with my children to this.
Right.
And you know what? The bottom line is we all falter. We all have to choose our priorities and focus on when. And that's why I don't really believe in the whole idea of balance.
Oh my gosh. I throw it out the window, girl. I call it harmony. I'm just trying.
Exactly.
I'm trying to make beautiful music out of sometimes the chaos. Ding, 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 ding.
That's exactly right. That's the best way to say it. Oh my God.
It is.
I want to know a little bit more about your Women in Vision incubator.
Okay.
And where you are right now, what you're looking for in clients, or what you're looking for in people coming to your business, and kind of all of that. So let us know, talk to us about that.
So let me tell y'all, I really love seeing women rock. I really do. I think my favorite accessory is pom-poms. I love cheering women on. I think I'm like the dream cheerleader, because I really believe that if we can get out of the mindset of, I can't cheer her on because I got to compare myself to her, or the fear we have of, okay, if she's doing great, then that takes away from me. I have this whole theory, and the oven is really wrapped around this, is that when you're doing great, Ashley, I'm doing great. And when I'm doing great, you're doing great. And that we don't need to compare ourselves. Matter of fact, why don't we collaborate? Why don't we gather together and do this well together? And so the oven is truly this space to bring women together, to really create an opportunity to connect, for sisterhood, for empowerment. You know, I love just being able to see women pursue after their vision, and to pursue it with everything that they need, every tool that they can have. And that being, if that's a group of women coming around you, and we do that through our like Vision Friday events, and we come together and we gather together to learn. If that's through coaching, and you need that one-on-one, and you need that roadmap to be able to get you from this point of your goal all the way through to the destination. And sometimes that destination is, I'm an event planner and I just want to be able to launch my website and doggone it, do my first event
Exactly.
as this professional. And sometimes it's that's the destination, and then we create a new roadmap for where we're going next and how do we build the rest of the business. But so that's a part of the oven. It's a part of also us fostering our gifts and giving back to our community. There are so many women and women organizations out there that need us. They need what we have. I did a panel for young women and teenagers, and I had these girls go to their friends, and I asked them to write down, what is it that you need from the older generation of women? And it was incredible. These girls came with these intelligent, like deep answers. And they were saying, if you see something wrong, please don't just look at us and shake your head. Please tell us in love. Because sometimes
I have that issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes they're like, my role model might be Beyonce. And that's probably not, nothing wrong with her, but that's not the only one I should have, because I might not have mom at home. And I might not have the things that you think someone should have told me, that I shouldn't be doing that or dressing that way. But if you tell me in love and you are able to direct me in the right path, those girls said, tell me. And those girls said, show us how to fall and fail and get back up. Mm-hmm. Don't show us always the winning, because then we feel like if we're not winning, we're not, you know, something's wrong with us. But show us what it looks like. Give us the whole story. Show us what it looks like to fall. Show us what it looks like to fail. Show us what it looks like to try to have to do all this stuff that we just talked about that's called harmony. Mm-hmm. And so I want women also in the oven to take the gifts that they have, and foster those gifts and give those out to the community. If that's the younger generation, if that's other agencies and groups that we can gather together and we can give back, I think there's something incredible, and it connects us, and it lets us know we're not the only ones out here who got things going on. So the oven is just this great platform. I love speaking to women, so I go and I speak to different groups of women. I've been with Junior League to MOPS, which is Mothers of Preschoolers. I've been at business forums and expos and conferences. So it's been like really cool to talk about how do we live out the vision that we have inside of us, and that we get away from saying, if that vision is in your career and how do I get a seat at the table, let's talk about it. If it's being, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and rock to the stay-at-home moms, because I did that for a little bit, and my God, wow. So anyway.
Can we take a moment of silence? No, I'm going to
take a moment.
I agree with you. Same situation. I understand.
Yeah. Wow. That's a skill. And whoever tries to tell them that it is not, yeah, let them be home for like 24 hours. That's all they need.
I know. And you know, I know we're talking about some bad things, but like, you know, you can have the best kids. The thing is, it's just, you know, it's like what I had to also realize about myself on that specific piece is I'm in my head too much.
Yes.
I've got things going all the time, and when you do have that fire in you, it's like, wait, you want me to pour another cup of apple juice?
Right.
On a business plan, you know? No, it's like, you know, you're always like, I don't have time for this little thing. Like, we're doing all this stuff for another cup. You know, you're hungry now, you know?
Right. You gotta go to the bathroom again? Like, again. No. Try it. Trust me. Like, do I have to vacuum for the 17th time? How many times do I wash dishes today? Exactly. Like, yeah. And it to me, that is a job that takes every skill in this. Like, we want to talk about the C-suite, like the CEO, the CFO, the COO. Like,
That's right.
All of those skills
Yes.
in the be. And then in the oven, it's like if you want to be the best stay-at-home mom who also still has a dream inside of her, whatever that looks like, that I want to come alongside you, and I want to make sure you have sisterhood, you have connections, you feel supported, you feel included, you feel loved through this group of women and this organization that wants to see you soar and thrive in whatever you're doing in life. So, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I think you're doing great. So how can people actually get a hold of you or find out about you or
Yay!
tell us all of that? Like, where can we hook up with you?
Yes. So you got to love all of this now that you get to say, I am on social media and my handle is.
Yes. Yes.
It is. So my handle on Instagram is Kenya Bryant. The Brave and Vision podcast is at the Brave and Vision podcast. It's on Instagram as well. I can be found on Facebook for Kenya Bryant, and also the Oven is on Facebook of the Oven Inc.
Okay.
My website is www.kenyabryant.com. So come out and check it out. Check out the podcast. It's on all platforms, iTunes, Google, Spotify. Check it out. Share it. Subscribe. We'd love to see you come fast. Yes.
Show her some love. And if you guys, like, I mean, Kenya, you know you're an awesome person. You know you exude it. I love it. And I'm so thankful that you're here. And you guys
Thank you.
have a bonus in the Academy. So if you want to check that out, then you can just go to ashleytate.com and sign up for the Academy. Or if you're already in there, you will get that bonus right away. So anyway, Kenya, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you all later.
That's right. See you in the Academy. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, hold on. 1 second.